This is TWiT.
Do you see those videos that they found in the latest firmware where it had almost like WebOS style card gestures? I was so excited. I don't know if they're going to do them or not, but those videos were very appealing to me.
Well, let me see if I can find those. This was for iOS 11 and an iPhone?
Yeah. And those were buried. So they might have been experiments that they tried and decided not to go with, or they might be something.
But you wouldn't put that in the firmware.
I mean, I normally yell, Leo, but since that HomePod leak, nothing is beyond me anymore.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, but the thing is, you're not going to put something in the firmware that you're not going to. I mean, that's just wasting space.
Yeah, or somebody like, well, they destroyed my idea and I want to get publicity on it, so I'm sneaking those back into the package. Here
are the Twitter videos from Guillermo Rambo.
Yeah.
So this is a gesture.
Right, so you're limited in the amount of gestures, bevel gestures you can do. You have bezel gestures. You have basically one for each side, which they're already using all those. So if they put something else at the bottom, you have to move Control Center to the top, and that's what that showed. It showed Control Center added to Notification Center in the top gesture.
Well, let me play it again. So now that I understand, so I pull down the screen, I scroll left
for your widgets,
right for the widgets,
Control Center,
or the Control Center rather, and then I scroll up for settings, which is kind of nice.
Well, he was on settings already.
So let's scroll up to go back. Oh, let's look at the other video then. Okay. So
this one will show you why they did that.
He says this is also interesting. So he's now just to get okay. Oh, whoa. Okay. No. Okay. Let's get this straight. So he's looking at Instagram or something. He now swipes up from the bottom with his thumb and he gets recents, right?
I've loved that ever since WebOS.
The app switcher. And then on the okay, ooh, this is interesting.
Well, so, okay, that would make sense if you're getting rid of the home button. Remember, that's how you get to the app switcher is you double tap on the home launcher. So perhaps perhaps that would support the idea that there's not going to be a clicky home button that's going to be completely virtual or just eliminated entirely.
And then there's a Control Center on the right.
Yeah, the card.
Like a mini dock.
And I presume you could swipe that open.
Wait, is that just the left edge of that card?
I would guess that's the left edge of that card.
It's coming in, so like it looks like it's being added to the stack at the end in case you want to quickly get to Control Center.
Maybe you could swipe over if you wanted more.
The top. Okay. Maybe I see cards populating in from the left as well.
Yeah, the left is the other.
So I think the left is the standard ones.
Right.
The left is your hierarchy of recent. Yeah.
Okay. So these have to be in there. These solve the problem, right? That you have of you don't have a home button anymore.
Yeah, although it's certainly interesting.
Although it's weird that look at the aspect ratio of that screen. There's room at the bottom there for a physical home button. I would expect to have seen that on something where they made the screen larger or done something to justify. Here's why we got rid of that.
That's because Guillermo doesn't have the new iPhone. He just has the software.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Guillermo needs the new iPhone to really make this sing. If you take away the home button, you have more screen real estate. That's the reason to take away the home button. But I'm a little worried because I still find myself in apps where the only thing I can find to do to get out of a particular screen is go back home.
It's your escape hatch.
Yeah. What do we do if we don't have that?
If the swipe up from the bottom is now simply the home button, essentially that does the same action, that people get used to it. Also, it solves the problem that I was struggling with was how do you deal with somebody who can't see the screen? How can that person then find it's very good to have a physical clicky button or something with a physical bump on it so that you can orient it in your hand and find it in your hand correctly. That might mitigate that by simply saying if you can't get a good look at the phone, you just know that swipe up from the bottom. Although now you run into the problem of how do I make sure that I'm holding it correctly with the top side up in my hand just by feel. So
this is a tough thing for these kinds of interfaces, and Microsoft learned at their peril that having kind of these hidden gestures really confuses people. With Windows 8 and 8.1, they hid a lot of stuff in corners and things, and you were just supposed to somehow
BBOS
know.
as well. Do you remember that? Like you had to almost do incantations to bring up the hub and to do other. And that's the danger, is that you only have a very small amount of gross gestures that are easily understandable. Basically, the 8 corners of the device, and really only 4 if you want them to be super easy to use. And after that, you're drawing patterns on the screen, and it feels almost like the new dock. And multitasking, I feel like I'm dealing cards when I'm using it. But when you see people use it for the first time, it's like, how do I hold this to put it on the side? How do I hold it to overlay it? How do I set up the 2 apps this way? And there's a much steeper learning curve for those kinds of gestures.
I mean, it's just the way it is. It's tough because you don't have a lot of affordances. You have to make it work. Google is apparently, HTC's done this with their HTC U11, and Google is apparently going to adopt it for a Pixel, a squeeze gesture.
Yes.
Where you
papa.
You squeeze the phone, and I guess that's going to be the Google Assistant. I feel like there needs to be something like that. If you're going to take away the home button, there needs to be some gesture that's always available and somewhat intuitive that does the home button, doesn't there?
There's a big rumor that both Apple and Google and other manufacturers really want to get rid of every hardware button and every port if they can, because they consider those areas of hardware failure. And the more they can virtualize, the more reliable all of their devices will be. And Google's apparently getting there faster with.
Ironically, no user ever has said that, but.
Well, remember in China, there was that story about how they would put on the virtual home button because they were paranoid about the real home button breaking.
Well, Google's always had, or often had, both on-screen home button and a physical home button in some of their some phones, like the Samsung. Although a rumor is, and we'll find out tomorrow, the Note 8 is going to be announced tomorrow, that also Samsung is going to eliminate its physical home button. I mean, you have to if you want more screen real estate, and everybody see. I think this is something users have converged on. More screen real estate is something we all want. Yes.
Maybe. It really depends on the user. I think that's still a premium phone sort of feature. We're seeing a lot of really great things happening now in the $300 to $400 space. And those phones are selling really well, even though they just simply have a very large screen and they also have a certain amount of bezel. For now, I think that deleting bezel and increasing screen size is right now more of a fashion thing than a practical thing. It does have practical impact in that, again, bigger screen without making a bigger phone, but realize that every single company that makes a really big phone also makes a more moderate sized phone, because not everybody wants anything that's even that size. So I think it remains to be seen whether or not this is how much this is fashion and how much this is the direction that people want to go with their phones.